What's up, Cats fans? Paul here from the Hoops Crew to dissect the round 13 loss that we've just had to the Sydney Swans. Now, this is pretty raw. If you want to get some, more coherent thoughts, tune into Post Game Live. As of the time I record this, we're going to start Post Game Live in about an hour and a half, give or take. And you've got 2 hours there where we're going to be talking in great depth about what transpired tonight between the Cats and the Swans. But I think it's important to kind of focus on the scoreline first and even look at the worm a little bit. We went down by 30 points today to the Swans. 16-16, 112 to 12-10, 82. And I think it was a strange old game because we got out, as you can see, as we look at the worm, we got out the blocks really quickly. We piled it on. In fact, Sydney went goalless in the first term. We'd kicked 5 unanswered. And we held them for a good while too. We end up with 6 unanswered. And then the explosion came in that second half of the second term. And that's ultimately what really did us in. We were, in this thing up to our eyeballs, and you can see kind of how the worm transpired in the latter stages of the game again, where we were wrestling back the momentum. We got it back to nearly single digit margin. And, had we not let things slide around here, and it's the Sydney midfield, and you look at it, I mean, Amadi got the first, but then it was, Haywards and Warners and Heaney's and Heaney, and, the Sydney midfield really asserted its dominance in that second half of the second term. Again, bit of a holding pattern through the third. And then, the wheels kind of fell off. The youthful exuberance of the Swans kind of rolled over the top of the Cats at that particular point, and just the absolute class and depth of their midfield got the job done. There's my first, the guttural impression for me, I want to be a bit scathing, and there's certainly players that I think we need to be talking about, and we'll do so through this video, and we'll do so again through Post Game Live. But in terms of the team performance, I'm not shattered. I'm disappointed. I'm absolutely disappointed to get off to a lead to a start like that, and to be in front by 6 goals to none at one stage in the second term. You shouldn't lose. But I also appreciate that the Cats really battled their way through it. There was no, and I guess it's that typical honourable Geelong loss sort of thing. But this is the right kind, where we didn't just throw in the towel. There was no point, like even in that period where we got crunched, it wasn't a lack of effort. It was just the cream that rose to the top for the Swans, and it was them really stamping their authority on the contest and reminding everyone why they are the flag favourites right now. And so I'm not devastated. I'm disappointed, but I'm not devastated. Let's look at some team stats before we go a little bit further, because ultimately for the Cats, the storyline is more or less the same as what we've been discussing for recent months now, where it's the midfield. And we look at some of the numbers tonight, and I think the first one, the disposal count, is the thing that highlights it. Not the gap between the two teams, but the gap between Geelong stat and their average. We just couldn't get our hands on the ball tonight. And that was the thing that kind of separated us, because actually as you kind of trend through, now obviously all the disposal related figures are going to be, kind of fairly well in step with the overall disposal count. But our disposal efficiency, there or thereabouts, a little bit down, but nothing extraordinary. The Swans were down on their average as well. So no big deals there. Our efficiency inside 50 was up. It was better than the Swans, and it was better than our average as well. Better than both teams' averages. That's trending all right as well. Free kick count, not much to be seen here. And then we get to the stoppages, which is where things get ugly. I'm kind of impressed by the centre clearance figure, because we got absolutely annihilated in the ruck today. Brodie Grundy had a best on ground performance, and I know there's plenty of Sydney midfielders who could put up their hand and make a case for being the best player on the ground today. But absolutely, it was the ruck contest between Reece Stanley and Brodie Grundy that proved to be the difference between the two teams today. Brodie Grundy absolutely annihilated Reece Stanley. And I think the thing that concerned me most, and I know people have been kicking Reece Stanley for years, and it's not great, but the thing that I guess frustrated me the most about Reece tonight is it felt like, he's come off weeks where he's not been playing, should be a little bit fresh. He should have a bit of fire in the belly because he's coming against one of the best. And he just didn't fire a shot, and he didn't look competitive. It wasn't that he wasn't good enough. He just didn't look competitive tonight. He didn't There wasn't the fire in the belly. There wasn't the intensity. There isn't that fire that you see when he plays against Max Gawn, where look, he's had a good history against Max and at different points. Obviously, Max has had some highlights as well. You can't really ever stop Max Gawn, but he's had some good games. And so when he comes out there, you kind of see the flaring in the nostrils and you see that intensity and you see that he's up for the contest. And tonight I saw none of that. He could barely get his hands on the ball, and we'll check out individual stats shortly, but it started at the ruck because it gave those classy midfielders time. It gave them space and it gave them clearances where they won 43-30. I didn't even realize that for the year they're actually averaging fewer clearances than us, but geez, they didn't. Yeah, it was a big difference there in the end. Center clearances, I'm shocked that it was as close as it was, but we got belted around the ground, which is, it's usually, that's kind of the reverse. We usually get smashed at the center clearance and then square things up a little bit when it comes to the stoppage clearances around the ground, because we can kind of get the troops and we can kind of position, put our different chess pieces around the play. Tonight, that did not work for us in the slightest. So that was a bit of a surprise, but again, those classy Swans and those young, athletic, fit, peak of their power Swans, the ones that we've been seeing coming for the last few years, going back to when we beat them in 2022, we could see it again last year. This is a team that's been building for this for quite some time, and it feels like the bodies are in the right place at the moment. For their sake, touch wood, that the injuries aren't hitting them in any. And I don't want to wish injuries on a team no matter what. So hopefully, for their sake, they remain fully fit. And all the pieces are coming together nicely for them. And, it showed today. Again, go back to from here, it's possession. Again, we just could not get our hands on the ball. 46% of match time versus 37% for the Cats. The final term, obviously, they really got away from us there. Last 10 minutes, similar sort of story. Very, very similar in the marking game because both teams were playing a very similar sort of game there. And both teams quite effectively. There's not a lot else really we need to gather from here. I think like what we see and think, the tackle count, the tackle inside 50 count is like we really brought that pressure, especially in the first half until that explosion late where we just couldn't get our hands on them. It was one of those days, and the midfield was where I think the kind of problem began, but not so much because of the midfielders. Let's pivot to some of the player stats. We'll filter out the Swans for now, and we'll just kind of hone in on what our group was doing. And again, you can see the overall count for across the board is down. We just couldn't get our hands on the ball. And so we see that, Max Holmes has 23 and he's continuing to be our best player at the Cats this year from 79% game time. You love to see it. Jeremy Cameron got a lot of the ball only late. And I spoke about this in a dedicated video last week. And if you haven't checked it out already, do so. Jeremy Cameron's starting to kind of click. He got his hands on the ball a lot, and then late in the piece when he needed to kind of go forward and play that key position role, especially with Shannon Neal out, he went forward, took a few great contested marks, kicked a couple goals. It was great to see. Jeremy Cameron might be just starting to warm up again. Tom Stewart with 20, but honestly, not a great performance from Tom. Tom Atkins was great, but again, and let's look at some of these midfielders. They're doing some great things, and I think about, for example, Jack Bowes. And I know that everyone loves, and that knows that I love Jack Bowes here. 2 goals, 1. Defensive pressure is good. He's not necessarily laying a ton of tackles, but his defensive pressure is great. He really makes the opposition earn it. He's been great defensively. Tom Atkins has been great. Tanner Bruin has moments, but like 13 disposals. That's a poor performance from him, despite the 5 clearances. We couldn't get the ball really at any point. Let's keep scrolling down until we find Reece Stanley, who was really quite ineffective. 19 hitouts as the number 1 ruckman, pretty much all game is not good enough. 8 disposals, not good enough. Like there's a whole range of stats here that don't make good reading for Reece Stanley. Mark Blitzarves as well. We need to have a bit of a look at, I think, how we're utilizing Mark Blitzarves. Mark Blitzarves is a wonderful player. Whether he's kind of taking the full-time ruck because Reece isn't up to it and Toby's not yet ready, I don't know. But we need to find better ways to use Mark Blitzarves, because he's just not getting his hands on the ball, and he's a really valuable ball handler. If he gets his 20, There's combinations of intercept possessions. He's probably had a shot or two on goal. It's a good all-round game for Mark, but this has been a pattern for a while. He just can't get his hands on the ball, and it's something I think we really need to explore a little bit of. It doesn't make great reading, honestly, especially as you get to the bottom end of this list. And that's all naturally what is always going to be the case. But some of our really important players that we need to fire for us to fire were down. Whether you want to talk about Mark Blitzarves, obviously Reece Stanley's important as the ruckman. We want to talk about Tanner Bruin. We want to talk about Zach Guthrie. These guys who've been really key cogs in the machine just didn't fire today. And so it became a job for our small forwards. And I think about the likes of Brian Myers, who was electric early, got pretty well held in the second half. It became their job to save the day. And there's only so much they could do. And eventually the dam wall burst. It burst late in the second. It burst late in the fourth. And the game was done. And so that's where we stand. Cats fans, let me know in the comments what you think about the game. Obviously, I think Reece Stanley is going to be a big discussion point, but there are others within this game. So please let me know what you think. Actually, I want to shout out Oshie Mullen, who early in the piece, he was racking. He had the ball on a string again. He went quiet in the second half as well. But some really great signs from a player who's developing nicely. Cats fans, again, let me know in the comments what you think of how the Cats performed today. What went right? What went wrong? 30-point loss to the Swans. Is that about right? Is that where we shape up? How are things trending for the rest of the season? Are we going to make the 8? Let me know in the comments. Check out Postgame Live. If you're checking this video out before it goes live, Postgame Live going live at 8 p.m. tonight. That is Sunday. That is hours after the game. Check it out. Jump in the chat with us. Talk all about the Cats v. the Swans and what you think about the Geelong Football Club and how they're trending. Thank you, as always, to Valhalla Brewing, our primary sponsor, who's been doing some amazing stuff with us. Thank you. They make an amazing drop. Go check it out. And check out all of our Hoops Crew socials. Check out the Patreon, where you can get early access to a whole range of content. You can sign up and get a 7-day free trial where you can get early access to a whole bunch of stuff there as well. See if it's for you. Consider kicking in a few bucks and checking out more of what we do. You can find me at Paul James Games as well on all socials, where you'll get a mix, especially at the moment, of some video game stuff as well as footy stuff. It's a big game in both environments that I kind of do my work in. So if you're into video games, well, go check out some of my socials, some of the links that I post there, and some of the comments and some of the random nuffy comments that I make there. Anyway, Cats fans, thanks all for watching. Remain Geelong strong. Enjoy a week off this week. We've got the bye. Danger will be back soon. Hopefully Cam Guthrie's not too far behind. Hopefully we can get that midfield in shape over the next 2 weeks so we can have an assault on the finals and potentially still run away with the premiership. It feels like a bit of a reach, but who knows? Thanks a lot for watching. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later.